Okay, everybody. Sorry about the delay, but welcome to the Grudge Match Series, Round 4. I'm your host, Hook, from the previous rounds. And sorry about the delay, but as you guys know, it's always a challenge getting these matches going here. So right now we've got the teams both taxiing out to the appropriate departure areas, and Fight On is going to start soon. So just to kick off the show here, I wanted to go ahead and cover a couple things. First of all, as you guys may know, this match is sponsored by Eagle Dynamics. Eagle Dynamics is going to be generously providing the winners of today's match with DCS Normandy terrain modules upon release, which is awesome. So thank you to Eagle Dynamics right off the bat for making that possible. I, for one, am very excited for the Normandy map, and for you guys who don't already know about it or may be interested, make sure to check out the Eagle Dynamics forum and Facebook page. They just put up some new pictures and media about the Normandy terrain module. So thank you to Eagle Dynamics. And let me go ahead and introduce my co-commentator today. I'm joined by Grummels from Grummels Gaming. He is a YouTube content creator with a lot of simulator-related content, including DCS and a large subscriber base. I am proudly one of them. So, Grummels, why don't you introduce yourself to the stream real quick, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. Yeah, well, not much to say about me. I have a little YouTube channel doing a little simulator battle, a little DCS content. And, well, I try to make videos that are both have entertaining flying in them, as well as some information. And Hook invited me today to give a little bit of insight on the planes involved in those matchups and the action in it.
Awesome. Thank you, Grummels. Looking forward to hearing from you. I know they probably get tired of hearing my voice, so it's always great to have some extra commentators. And guys,
oh, you have a lovely voice.
I don't know about all that. I think my southern drawl comes out sometimes. Okay, great. Well, Grummels, thanks for joining us here. Looking at my notes, looks like the next thing to do is introduce the pilots. So we're going to start with the Luftwaffe today, and I'm going to actually pull up our roster here. You guys can see the Luftwaffe planes holding short on the ramp. And starting it out, it looks like we've got, oh, excuse me real quick. Sorry about that. Looks like leading off the roster, we have JG26 David Red in a 109. David Red was the #1 SA Sim qualification round pilot with 162 victories and a kill-loss ratio of 8.1 during the qualification period, which is outstanding. Next we have Dark Raiders. Let's see if I can find them here so I can go in order. Actually, we'll move on to Default Face here. He was a standing #5 with 73 victories during the qualification period and a 3.84 kill-loss ratio. And then moving on, we have JG26 Daniel in the 109 with 14 victories and a 1.4 kill-loss during our qualification round. JG27 Mad looks like he had 34 victories. And then Subaru in the 190, the lone 190 today with 20 victories, and looks like he had a 1.4 kill loss on the qualification. All right, and we'll look at the RAF team now. Looks like we might be short just one pilot there, so we'll see what's going on with that in just a second. 6 per team. Okay, lead off we have 104 Stooge in the Spitfire. Looks like Stooge is ranked during a qualification round, probably high knowing Stooge. No, he is 6 victories and 1.5 kill death ratio. He said he was new to the Spitfire, so we're looking forward to seeing his flying today. We've got Showtime. Looks like Showtime has taken up a Spitfire as well today. During the qualification, he had 40 victories. Working our way back, CMF 04 and a P51 today. 56 victories during the qualification period with 8 kill-loss ratio. And just so you guys know what we're talking about, we had a 10-day qualification on the Burning Skies server, who is our host today. Okay, moving now to Salty and a P51 with 43 victories. Rounding out the roster, we've got RF Jack. RF Jack had 110 victories. Very impressive. 2.97 kill-loss ratio. And then finally for the RAF, we have Major. and a Spitfire, who is also, looks like he managed to pull off a 34 victory and 1.09 kill-loss ratio. Okay, guys, so we'll be getting the fight going here in just a second. I'm going to call the official fight on to all the players, but what I have to do first is find out where our missing Luftwaffe pilot is. So I'm going to mute my mic for just a second, guys.
Thanks.
Okay, guys, back with you. So yes, as I suspected, we did have one Luftwaffe pilot who had to reboot the whole shebang. So he's going to be back with us here, which is just fine. Gives us a minute to talk about the planes a little bit. I know we had one viewer talking about the comparison between the planes. So Grummels, your first contribution today's commentary. I would like to hear your take on the RAF aircraft, the P-51 and the Spitfire, versus the Luftwaffe's choice, which is predominantly the 109K along with the single 190. What are your thoughts going into the match here?
Well, I have to say I'm a little biased myself towards the PF-109 because it is my favorite plane. And I think in a situation like we have here, a relatively short range from each other as well as relatively low altitude, presumably, with the ground targets, I think the PF-109 will probably do quite well. That plane is designed to have as much horsepower as possible on a very light airframe. It is very much focused on a great power-to-weight ratio. So if the pilots make use of that, they should be able to do very well against the Mustang as well as the Spitfire in the vertical, using their plane's great power-to-weight ratio in energy fighting and such. However, of course, the Spitfire, on the other hand, also has a pretty good power-to-weight ratio, pretty much the same, and is much more maneuverable. It has a way lower wing loading than all the other planes we have in this matchup. It is, however, also the slowest of all the planes we have, so all the Luftwaffe planes can outrun it. Now, then we've of course got the P-51 on the RAF side, which is mostly a long-range escort fighter, was used as this. And that is of course an advantage that in this kind of matchup doesn't play such a big role, because it is very short range all here. So, but being this long range, of course, it needs to carry more fuel. That means larger fuel tanks, and that means a larger airplane. So it is also heavier. That gives it a relatively low power-to-weight ratio compared to the PF-109 and the Focke-Wulf 190. However, where the Mustang is really good at compared to the PF-109 is at high-speed performance in dives and such. So if for example a PF-109 catches a P-51 at high altitude, the P-51 can generally outdive the PF-109, at least get to a speed where the PF-109 gets control troubles. Now, and last but not least, we have the Focke-Wulf 190, which is also a very powerful plane, has the most powerful engine from all those planes we have here. But it is also relatively heavy, almost as heavy as the P-51. So it is also not that great when it comes to power-to-weight ratio, but also very fast. It is, however, also the plane that has the highest wing loading. So as far as turning performance is concerned, it is the weakest of the planes. It has, however, a very good roll rate, which the pilot can make use of in defensive flying. However, that is often difficult to do against good pilots, and we have mostly good pilots here. So we will see how that works out. Now, I guess as far as overall strategy, I would assume that the Luftwaffe pilots will try to stay as fast as possible against the Spitfires, because the Spitfires are much slower than both the Luftwaffe pilots. So as long as they can keep their speed up, the Spitfires will have trouble catching them. On the other hand, the PF-109s at least can turn a little bit better than the B-51s. The wing loading of the two is pretty similar. However, if the B-51 reduces their fuel load, which they can of course in this case, because they carry a lot of fuel, and in this relatively short range engagement the B-51s can, if they so choose, reduce their fuel load to about the same what the Bf-109s and Spitfires carry. And in this case the wing loading of the two, of the B-51 and the Bf-109, would be relatively similar. However, the B-51 of course is known for having very good aerodynamics, and that comes on at the price. However, the wings of the B-51 very thin to create very little drag. However, that also means that they stall relatively early at a relatively low angle of attack. So that makes, even at a similar wing loading, the Bf-109 a little bit of a better turner. However, again, at a higher speed, the B-51 should still be able to maneuver better, because at high speeds the Bf-109's controls lock up pretty badly. Well.
Outstanding. Sorry about that. Can you hear me okay?
I can, yes.
Good. Hey, Grumbles, that is exactly why I invited you to co-commentary. What an excellent assessment of the aircraft. If you guys want to hear more of that type of excellent commentary, I encourage you to subscribe to Grumbles, because that's why I love watching your content. Very knowledgeable. So yes, you answered pretty much every question I had. And for the viewers, guys, we're just waiting on one last pilot to get in. He had just a little bit of technical difficulty. Looks like he's on the ramp now. We'll watch him fire up. So Grumbles, that was kind of what my feeling was. To keep the action up, the airfields are close together. The airfields are actually separated by 40 nautical miles. And we'll use this as a segue to talk about the match scenario. For the viewers, we're going on two things today. There's total match time and air-to-air kills, so whoever can get the most air-to-air kills in 1 hour, 30 minutes, and 18 possible air-to-ground targets. Now, you guys see here there's 3 groups of 6 for each team. So either team can elect to go for air-to-ground, air-to-air, or a combination as their path to victory. Now, I'm interested to see how these differences are going to play out, because, as you said, Grumbles, the airfields are close together, which means they're going to have to really take extra time to build that altitude, meaning we may find ourselves down in that lower altitude Spitfire and 109 domain. And unless I'm in error, and correct me if I'm wrong, Grumbles, the Spitfire probably is the best turning performer at low altitude. Is that correct?
Yes, by a large margin.
Right, but the Spitfire also is probably the slowest and probably cannot climb like the 109. Is that also a correct assessment?
Yeah, it is the second best climber, because it also got a really good power-to-weight ratio, but the Bf-109K is just a little bit better. So the Bf-109 can outclimb the Spitfire in, for example, a circle climb if it tries to get away from a Spitfire.
Ah, gotcha. Excellent. Well, hey, Grumbles, thanks for that excellent assessment. I'm going to be announcing match start here in just a second, guys. We've got the aircraft taxiing to, a little off-roading there by the 109 K4 of Dark Raiders, who is joining in, and looks like he's just about ready for action. So, scorekeeping, do you have any issues, or are we good to go?
Ready to go.
All right, thank you, scorekeeping. By the way, scorekeeping today is done by Yak Beard, a good friend of mine and a member of Black Knight Squadron. So, Yak, thank you for joining us. Okay, guys, well, the action is just about to kick off here. I will be calling fight on across the entire TeamSpeak, so bear with me there, viewers. Attention contestants, this is the event moderator. Fight on, fight on, fight on. The 1 hour, 30-minute game clock has started. Okay, viewers, the party is going here. We will watch the Luftwaffe depart. You should see the clock in the upper right of the stream ticking down. 1 hour, 29 minutes on the clock as we see the 109 K4 joined by the lone FW190 depart, with just a little bit of off-road touch there from their air base at Krasnodar. Let's check out the Blue 4 pilots. And there we go. Beautiful, much prettier departure by the RAF pilots here as they the Spitfires depart low and fast out of Kremsk, heading for the action. Really excited about this new World War II theme for round 4. We've never done a World War II grudge match, so I think that the action is going to be high. We're going to have a lot of the 2D views. I know that you guys hate the F10 map, but it is necessary, a necessary evil for me as the announcer to be able to let you guys see the action. So you guys in the stream, just do me a favor, or perhaps Flankerator, our representative from sasim.com. By the way, Flankerator is one of our stream moderators, and he will be running our live contest. I see Flankerator's commenting in the stream that he's stoked. Hey, Flankerator, do me a favor as the stream manager. Just let me know if the sound is okay. If I need to turn volumes up or down, let me know. I definitely want the roar of that Merlin engine, but more importantly, they need to be able to hear what's actually happening in the match. Okay, guys, so both teams now screaming towards each other. We're seeing a trailing formation here by Blue 4. It looks like the RAF wants to get to the action quickly. A little bit more of a structured formation forming here, and it looks like a grasp for altitude with the Luftwaffe pilots. Default face now climbing. Looks like he is taking top cover. We've got another 109, looks like JG27 Mad also looking for altitude, and we'll see if Blue 4 is still keeping it on the deck. It seemed that Blue 4 was coming in low and fast, definitely in Spitfire territory with the Luftwaffe, which you can see just in the distance now, looking for altitude. Grummels, give me a quick thought here. What do you think the RAF is going to be shooting for?
Yeah, interesting. The RAF are all on the deck, and it seems they want to go for the ground targets as fast as possible. Pretty much mimicking, I guess, the tactic that maybe the MiG-21s used in the last Grudge match, which all went for the ship targets as fast as possible. On the other hand, the Luftwaffe is all climbing and going up to very high altitude. So when the two meet, the Luftwaffe is, in my opinion, going to have an advantage, but the question is how many ground targets will the RAF be able to kill until the Luftwaffe gets there?
Yes, my assessment as well. And in the Grudge Match series, we've always seen decisiveness and teamwork win, even when the aircraft is disadvantaged. So we're seeing a decisive move here by the RAF. They're definitely moving on the ground quickly. Now, I did notice, Grummels, they're not bringing any air-to-ground ordnance, so if they are going for air-to-ground, they're relying totally on the cannon. A little surprising for me, as the P-51 is a very capable striker. Can carry quite a few rockets. Right, so it looks like they're committing to cannons.
Yeah, I actually expected them to do that, because without the ground ordnance they are much faster at the target, and our ground targets here, BTR-80s, they are actually relatively easy to destroy.
Problem.
Okay, very, very interesting. Yeah, I can see that there is a decisive strategy there for Blue 4, and you're right, that is true. They would sacrifice speed moving on the ground. Guys, give me 1 second. I got to check in with our server host, so I'm going to mute my mic for 1 second. Okay, sorry about that, Grummels. We had the server host there worried that there may have been a technical issue, but we are good to go. So, Grummels, go ahead with what you were saying. Sorry to cut you off.
I just noticed that one of the Spitfires is actually climbing to higher altitude, apparently trying to be high cover for the rest. However, he is quite a bit behind the rest of his team, and I don't think he will be there in time to be cover for the rest of the RAF, which I expect is going to be bounced by the Luftwaffe soon, which will actually reach their own targets before the RAF can reach them.
Exactly, yeah, Major definitely. I noticed that the Spitfire of Major is currently, and it looks like about 6,400 feet, giving us a little wing wag there. I think he is intending to fly top cover, but like you said, his climb to altitude has cost him distance. I would estimate at least 7 or 8 miles. Here we go with the first merge of the match. The Luftwaffe positioned a little higher and ready to pounce over the RAF screaming in. The RAF decisively went after Luftwaffe targets. However, the targets are closer to the Luftwaffe naturally, so that's going to give the Luftwaffe the chance to pounce the RAF if indeed they see them. We're going to focus on the lead RAF ship here, as it looks like he possibly bears down on that lead group, which looks like the BTR-80s of Red 4. But perhaps not. Now turning off, evasive. Those BTR-80s seeking to defend themselves with their onboard weapons. Any kill will count as a kill and a loss for the match. And the first loss, the Spitfire of 104 Stooge, possibly taking fire from that BTR-80 and losing a wing. Just a horrible golden bullet situation for Stooge as he careens into the ground. That will be the first loss of the match and actually a ground target kill on Stooge. However, the effort wasn't wasted. It looks like at least 4, maybe 5 ground points have been scored as the RAF decisively strikes that stationary transport URL 375, sorry, and they have killed now 5, possibly 6 of those targets. Excellent scoring opportunity there. The Luftwaffe does not seem to have detected them at all, but that did cost them 1 Spitfire as Stooge was taken down by unfortunate ground-to-air fire. So there, right off the bat, we've had a score trade, 1 Spitfire for 6 ground points. A point is a point, so that's going to be advantageous to the RAF, putting them in the lead. I won't put it on the board yet, as I tend to wait for official score reports from our scorekeeper, which will come periodically, so the live scoring will take time to update. Now we have the Spitfire of Major, possibly spotted by the 109 or the 190 of Subaru, flying forward here. Salty also in a P-51 east of Default Face, but again, not sure if Default Face have seen him. Looks like Subaru and JG26 Daniel are pursuing Major. I don't know if they're going to be able to close the gap with him. It looks like he is in a gentle climb and probably unaware. In the meantime, the RAF continues to press the ground targets. Eventually, the Luftwaffe is going to spot them. They have to at least see the tracers, but while they have time, the RAF is racking up those ground points. The Luftwaffe now turning into a 2-ship back towards the ground targets. I think STP Default Face is going to be our first Luftwaffe on scene at the site of the RAF ground attacks here. Nearly all 6 BTR destroyed now. Only a couple remain. Excellent gunnery by the RAF and a very decisive strategy to rack up those early game points. Both those groups off the board, that's at least 12 points for the RAF, which I'm going to go ahead and put on the board for you guys. Dark Raiders now coming in, our RAF Jack. We may see some payback for those ground targets. STP Default Face bearing in. Salty has crashed. I'm not sure if it was ground fire or air-to-air gunnery, but we see Dark Raiders diving in here on a Spitfire. Looks like that Spitfire is flown by Showtime. Some early shots on Showtime. Showtime breaking hard right, using the agility of that Spitfire to evade. In the meantime, STP Default Face also diving in on, it looks like another Spitfire who's low and dirty in the ground here. Banking left, the Spitfire flown by Showtime. So Showtime now has 2 bandits chasing him. Let's take a look at Showtime. His Default Face just overshoots, not able to line up that gun kill. And it looks like Showtime's doing an excellent job of using the advantage of his Spitfire. Jack and CMF-04 both looking to defend their teammates. Here comes CMF-04 looking for a shot at Default Face. That's a hit. That is definitely a hit. And that might have actually been
Dark Raider is down.
Dark Raiders, thank you. Dark Raiders hit by CMF-04. He's smoking and probably not going to be able to keep that 109 in the air. RF Jack now squaring off with Default Face, but Default Face not able to line anything up. More help coming in for the Luftwaffe. David Red and Mad charging into the fight here. In the meantime, CMF-04 in a P-51 confirms his kill on Dark Raiders as he heads towards the river just northeast here. David Red, JG27 Mad looking to pay back that loss as they pursue the P-51 with a close pass there flown by CMF-04. Showtime and Major coming in to help their teammates. Really tough to call exactly who's in the advantageous position here, but we see STP Default Face diving in on that low and fast RF Jack P-51 here as he breaks right. Default Face still looking for that kill shot. We'll keep an eye on Default Face here to see if he can make it connect. Excellent flying by RF Jack here. Default Face just not quite able to line up the shot. Now reversed as RF Jack turns the tables on Default Face. In the meantime, we see Major and his Spitfire attempting to line up JG27 Mad. Now climbing for altitude. Not sure if he's going to be able to get enough energy on that bandit for a gun position as Matt extends just like Grummel said and outclimbs that Spitfire. The 109 now turning in. Oh, close head-to-head pass and a deflection shot. Grummels, did you catch who that kill was on?
I haven't seen that. I think it was on a different one.
Okay, I think I'm watching the scoring now. Looks like it might have been Dark Raiders. I'm not sure who that kill was on, but it was a great head-to-head pass deflection shot there. RF Jack and Default Face still duking it out here in that P-51. I see the Luftwaffe taking control of the situation here, Grummels. What are your thoughts while we watch the merge?
Yeah. I think the first PF-109 that went into action was a little bit too aggressive with the turning and got shot down or at least damaged because of this. But now that all the Luftwaffes are on the scene, they do have an advantage because they all came in at higher altitude and had a much higher energy state. So if they fly disciplined and keep this up, the RAF team will have trouble getting the upper hand in the air-to-air fight in this situation. But of course the RAF managed to kill a lot of ground targets, so the Luftwaffe is behind and needs to shoot down quite a few planes to make up for that.
Absolutely, and as you spoke, we watched RF Jack's P-51 careen to the ground. Looked like it was a resultant gun kill from Default Face's pursuit. We're now watching the lone P-51 of CMF-04, who is venting fuel or something out of his left wing, flee from the fight. He has 5 Luftwaffe planes, so one of them presumably lost. Only 3 RAF planes on the ground. Just saw a Luftwaffe plane disappear off the map there, so I'm not sure if that was resultant of damage or a crash into the ground. I'm going to see if I can get my scoring list updated here. There we go. And yeah, we can see CMF-04 fleeing now south. 104 Stooge and Showtime coming in to help their teammates. Both those pilots and Spitfires, though. So if this fight ends up being high velocity, if they end up using the speed of the aircraft to try to escape, which would be totally understandable by CMF-04, those Spitfires coming to his aid may have a hard time catching up. Grimmels, who's at the speed advantage here? Now his plane is damaged, but do you think he can extend away from the 109?
No, they are already way too close and have a speed advantage already. And at this altitude, the PF-109 K4s are really powerful and quite fast.
Yes, as you say that, you you prophesize correctly. The K4 is having no trouble keeping up with CMF-04 as he attempts to flee there. Looks like the only question right now is not overextending, as he really flies the plane to the best of his ability to escape. But I just
very good defensive flying.
Yeah, it was very good defensive flying, forcing the overshoot. But as he has another 109 line him up here, I'm not sure how long he can keep this up. Another overshoot here. Looks like that overshoot was by David Red in his 109. Hanging back just a little bit, it's JG27 Mad. We have another merge forming up north, but we'll try to see the outcome of CMF-04 here. Not much his teammates could do to help him at this point, as he is outnumbered and outgunned. Right now, he's just biding time. Really excellent defensive flying.
Yeah, he's drawing 2 planes out of the fight. So that is him, 1 plane for 2 planes of the enemy team. So if he can keep this up, it is an advantage for his team.
Exactly. The more time he buys, the more time the Spitfires have to close the gap and use that to their advantage. Showtime and Stooge closing in with Subaru and Daniel, who is now above Stooge. Maybe Stooge not aware of his position, as Stooge watches the 6 of his teammate Showtime in a Spitfire. Stooge now breaking left here. Not sure if that's intending to line up on the 6 o'clock of Daniel, or if he's just doing a little bit of a scam, but by doing that, he's actually put Showtime in the crosshairs here. Showtime breaking right defensively. Again, I see those guys really working that advantage of that Spitfire. Let's check in down here. I think at this point, CMF-04 and his Spitfire have lost the battle. Okay, so as you said, really great defensive flying in a wounded bird. Bought some time for his team, but I'm not sure the RAF pilots on scene have used it to the fullest effect just yet. I'm going to request a scorekeeper, when able, try to give us a score report. We've got at least 12 points on the board, possibly more actually. It may actually be the full 18 points for the RAF, as it appears they have destroyed all of the moving ground targets. Very decisive strategy. So at this point, Grummels, I think that we can say, even though the RAF has lost planes, despite us not having an official score on the board yet. We can say with confidence that they probably are in the lead based on those 18 ground points they accumulated.
Yeah, most certainly. Of course, now they have to be careful that they don't lose the air fight too decisively, because if they do that, the Luftwaffe would have an opportunity to kill our ground targets of their own.
Right, exactly. And that's what I think the Luftwaffe's strategy might be right now. Wear down these leftover planes on station, then take that scoring opportunity to completely reverse the round. An hour and 15 minutes left on the clock here, so we're just about 15 minutes into the match. The merge is played out in the Luftwaffe's favor. However, the RAF has successfully destroyed all of the Luftwaffe's ground targets, which is an excellent score on the board for them. If the RAF lost every single pilot in the fight, that would only be 6 points for the Luftwaffe. However, as you said, if they continue that attrition and lose all the planes on scene, then the RAF is certainly going to have a problem with losing all 18 ground targets as well. Interesting what we're seeing here. 104 Stooge, Major, and Jack not committing to the fight. Salty and a lone P-51 leading on the chase of the Luftwaffe. Unsure if he's trying to wear them down on fuel, if he's purposefully diverting them, or if his team...
I think he has taken a few hits.
Right, and I think that maybe he's buying time for his team. Maybe his team doesn't know what's going on. A collision there. A collision between, oh man, it looks like Showtime and a 109. Unknown 109 careens into the ground there. Showtime going down. That's going to be a point for each team there. So just a trade-off. Salty, Major, both closing in on JG-27 Daniel, climbing in his 109. I thought I saw a couple tracers streak by. Yes, a climbing shot there. Looks like that shot is by Salty.
Yeah,
Not sure if he's going to be able to connect it.
Turned the situation around and got a few shots in on his opponent. Very nice flying.
Wasn't quite able to connect him though. He ran out of energy and the shots didn't quite connect, so I think that JG-27 Daniel got out of there without any actual damage. Okay, Daniel, Salty, and Major, along with the Luftwaffe pilot of David Red here, now fighting just south of the large lake here, just near Bullseye. Lots of trades of positioning. 104 Stooge seems to continue to patrol his ground targets, so we may see something we haven't really seen in the Grudge Match series with ground targets, and that is a fully committed defensive effort. Which is very interesting. And it may be a good strategy, too. I mean, the RAF has 18 points in the bag. That's not going anywhere. So a commitment to keeping those ground targets safe for the duration of the match is very interesting, and it might work. But we'll have to see how the air-to-air performance goes. Deflection shot by David Red. Looks like David Red struck the Spitfire of Major, who is now leaking out of his left wing. Unsure how that's going to affect the handling of his aircraft. STP, Default Face, and Mad both heading back to the scene here. Salty in his P-51 watching the fight from a distance. Looks like Major may be smoking. Nope, he's still just leaking fuel out of his left wing, and now he's smoking. As a deflection shot. Excellent deflection shot there on Salty, and I think that was by Subaru, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I also saw another Mustang go down.
Yes.
But I didn't see him take hits, so I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe he overspeeded in a dive.
Could have been a C-fit. Those are always hard to catch. Major is confirmed kill as the Spitfire goes into the ground. Total departure from controlled flight. Salty now in a P-51 being pursued again with 109s on his tail. Seen this a lot of aggression by the 109s in the Luftwaffe in general. Really managing to stay on the 6 o'clock of the P-51 and the Spitfires even, as hard as that may be. Salty may be deliberately leading JG-27 to his teammate here. Unsure if communication is going on, but if CMF-04 sees that, which he surely does now with those tracers going off, then Salty may have some help coming, some much needed help.
Daniel also fired one of his
signal flares.
Signal flares.
I thought I saw one. Okay, good use of that equipment there. Okay, CMF-04 looking to line up a shot. It looks like he's firing on JG-27 Daniel. A lot of 50 caliber in the air. I see landing gear deployed. Yeah, he's in a bad situation. If he doesn't pull up soon, he will certainly hit the ground. Parts coming off of his aircraft that may have been an aileron or part of his elevator. Yes, he's in serious trouble now. Look at that smoke, engine damage. That aircraft has got to be badly damaged as JG-27 takes a lot of hits from the excellent marksmanship of CMF-04. Salty getting a little payback as he also lines up between JG-27 Daniel, putting even more 50 caliber ball into his aircraft. Or tracer, I guess, would be appropriate. That will be the end of it for JG-27 Daniel. Very surprised if he'll be able to get out of that. But not in vain as JG-27 David comes around to try to avenge his teammate. Looks like David is pursuing the Salty in the P-51. Unable to fight for a good shooting position. Sabaru, default face, all chasing CMF-04's P-51. Stooge and a Spitfire coming in from the northernmost area of the engagement to attempt to help. Lots of trades for positioning here. Stooge coming in. Looks like he definitely sees the fight, but I think Stooge is carefully positioning before he gets into that fight. The Luftwaffe pilots now turning the tables on Salty and CMF-04. Head-on pass between CMF-04 and David Red as those aircraft continue to joust for positioning here. Okay, CMF-04 being, looks like he is not being pursued anymore, actually, just again in a positioning fight, but we have 104 Stooge behind default face. Stooge definitely gets some hits there. I did see some debris in the air. Wow, aggressive flying by default face to keep Stooge from being in a shooting position. Part of his aircraft separating there. Not sure if it's a resultant of gun damage or the way he was flying it. Probably gun damage. Looks like Stooge definitely got some hits there on default face. His aircraft is barely in control. Yeah, he's totally departed from controlled flight. That is a kill for Stooge. Good shooting by Stooge. In the meantime, we see David. Looks like he just killed a CMF-04. CMF-04's Mustang has gone down. Hard to keep up with all the action here as Salty attempts to fire at 2 Luftwaffe planes. Oh, well, make that one. Yep, good kill by him. Can he line up a second? No, that 104 is evasive, but right behind him, Salty quickly has the tables turned on him. And that's the 190, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep, okay, so the 190 is getting his hands dirty. The 190, a Subaru comes in and hits Salty just a couple times. 104 Stooge here, now looks like he's in a head-on deflection, trying to get in a position here. Salty now pursuing Sabaru. Stooge now pursuing David Red. Let's see if Sabaru can use that 190's performance to get away from Salty, who is flying a lightly damaged P-51 at this point. Okay, so the 190 extending now on the ground. I would expect him to maybe climb, knowing that that aircraft is definitely a zoom and boom performer, but perhaps I'm wrong. Perhaps that would be a bad move at this point and just put Salty in a better
in this case,
shooting.
I think he should stay straight and level, because in level flight he should be able to outrun the Mustang.
Right, okay, good point. Yeah, climbing would have been a mistake, and that's why Hook provides commentary and doesn't fly. So as he extends out there on the ground, as you said, looks like he's just making the shooting position of Salty more and more difficult. David Red in his 109 taking some damage from 104 Stooge's Spitfire, now smoking badly, definitely some type of damage to the engine there that's probably going to result in an eventual failure. We do have some Luftwaffe reinforcements on scene here. JG-27 Mad and his 109 has arrived, and looks like just outside of that, the 109 of Dark Raiders is coming in, but Blue 4 is also getting some strength on scene. Major, RF Jack, Showtime, Stooge, and Salty all in the area. Only CMF-04 back at base right now, so numbers rest with Blue 4 as Sabaru attempts to switch his fleeing position into his shooting position. They're definitely trying to cover the damaged plane of JG-27 David, who's fleeing from the fight now. Subaru's going to once again find himself defensive as he's pursued by P-51 and a Spitfire. Lots of exchanges of fire going on here. A part coming off of Subaru's 190. Spitfire behind him taking damage, but Subaru losing both elevators goes right into the drink. JG-27 Mad is looking to avenge his teammate, trying to slide in behind the, looks like it's a Spitfire flown by Showtime. Attempted to line up that shot. Showtime using the agility of the Spitfire to deny it. Good flying by Showtime there. Dark Raiders in the 109. Looks like he's turning in. Lots of gunfighting action here. Very hard to keep up with all this. Let's look at Spitfires. The Spitfire of 104 Stooge, again trying to fire there on the one. Oh, another kill for Stooge. Just racking him up here as JG-27 takes serious damage. I would be very surprised if JG-27 Mag can pull out of that. His plane does not look good. In the meantime, his squadron mate, JG-27 David Red, still in a wounded bird, is circling overhead. I think he wants to help, but at this point I feel like if he tries to take that bird back into the fight, he's going to do nothing but contribute to the losses of the Luftwaffe. Blue 4 seeming to really take control of this engagement here. Stooge and RF Jack attempting to get connected shots on David Red, who's now damaged. Dark Raiders extending out from the fight. Looks like his plane's in good shape, but he's being pursued by Showtime in a Spitfire.
Yeah, I think Dark Raider has lost quite a bit of speed, so he is very vulnerable to a Spitfire now if it comes in. And this Spitfire has more speed than him at this point, so I think he probably can catch him.
Yeah, 268 knots indicated right now, not very quick. You're right, it looks like the Spitfire may have a chance at running him down here. Luftwaffe definitely losing control of that engagement. David Red now turning towards ground targets, attempting to rack up some ground kills, while the rest of the RAF team pursues Dark Raiders, who looks like is slowly but steadily building up that speed in an attempt to escape. However, he's got at least one P-51 coming in behind him who had some altitude. It looks like they have traded that altitude for speed. Lots of aircraft lining up behind him. Dark Raiders is now being pursued by 1, 2, 3 good aircraft and one damaged one, so he's got a lot of RAF heat. Another aircraft just in front of Dark Raiders, JG-27 David Red. He's going to be really easy to spot with that damage and that venting fume, so that's going to already put him in a disadvantage. Watching RF Jack as he attempts those long, or maybe not so long, but 50 caliber shots, attempting to connect that there with David Red, or Dark Raiders rather. Dark Raiders also or continuing to attempt his escape. However, Dark Raiders is in a situation where he's trading speed now for altitude, and I feel like that may just put RF Jack in a better position to shoot. No, he was able to turn it around. Okay, so he's gotten RF Jack out of that shooting position. David Red now running back home. Probably wants to get that plane on the ground considering how it looks. We'll see if he's able to escape. Right now, Major in the Spitfire is chasing him. Looks like we've had some deflection shots between RF Jack and Dark Raiders here as they enter sort of a vertical scissors attempting to get in shooting positions. Hard to say who the advantage lies with as Dark Raiders does a near full forward deflection maneuver here. RF Jack attempting to push his P-51 into a shooting position. However, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Grummels, that the 109 does enjoy a low altitude turning advantage over the P-51. Is that correct?
Yeah, in this situation I would say that the P-109 now has the advantage.
Right, and definitely in maneuvering, but maybe not in numbers, as we see Showtime and RF Jack coming in. Oh, 104 Stooge struck. Not sure what got him. It may have been a deflection shot by Dark Raiders, but I see that his aircraft is missing a very large portion of its wing. And
I think he might have dived too fast with a damaged wing.
Okay, so it was overspeed damage. Well, he's still in the air, so if he can get that aircraft back, he'll abate that loss. Okay, right now we have Default Face and Showtime. Looks like RF Jack is pursuing Dark Raiders. Looks like once again he has managed at against odds to put his P-51 in a shooting position on that low altitude 109 flown by Dark Raiders, but it looks like he did overextend. Okay, yep, definitely an overextension there. CMF 04 and Showtime and RF Jack now versus Default Face and Dark Raiders. We have Dark Raiders coming in an attempt to help his teammate Default Face, but the numbers lie with Blue 4 here. Okay, so just 1 hour on the clock here. We have 1 hour left, 30 minutes have elapsed. Hard to say where we lie in the scoring situation. We know at least 12 points on the board. 18 we can say for the ground kills, and we know that the Luftwaffe has also picked off some ground kills.
11 RAF aircraft destroyed, 5 Luftwaffe aircraft destroyed.
Okay, so from the score, from the scoring update there, we know that the RAF has 11 aircraft down and that the Luftwaffe Is this correct, Yak? The Luftwaffe has destroyed 5 aircraft, or they have lost 5?
Luftwaffe has lost 5 aircraft.
Okay, understood. Okay, guys, so we'll get that score on the board here in just a second here. And scorekeeper, if you can look at the ground targets too, so we can give a good score update when able. Dark Raider's taking a lot of hits here. Looks like he's got 2 P-51s chasing him. I don't think he's going to make it away from that.
Yeah, one of them is a Spitfire.
Okay, one is a Spitfire. Sorry about that. Lots of shots here, despite his attempts to evade. Dark Raiders is not going to make it out of that alive. Default face on the deck with Showtime in a Spitfire pursuing him. Nope, he's climbing as well in his 109, attempting to extend away from Showtime. JG-27 Daniel now pursuing the Spitfire and in a shooting position. No, I'm sorry, the Mustang flown by RF Jack, but not quite enough time to line up the kill. And we're going to break away from the action for just a second to try to get a score on the board here. Okay, guys, so we just updated the board with preliminary scoring. Right now, RAF in a lead due to the loss of ground targets or the destruction of enemy ground targets. However, the Luftwaffe, as you can see, has killed more RAF aircraft, putting them not too far behind, really within the closing distance on that score. Okay.
Yeah, and I think the Luftwaffe now managed to get a little bit of altitude advantage back.
Right, yeah, they definitely were able to survive some of the low altitude scissors with the Spitfires, and if they can get this altitude advantage back in World War II gunfighting, altitude is your lifeline, regardless of the aircraft you're in. So they'll have that energy to trade when a fight comes. JG-27's Daniels 109 now climbing. Looks like he was being pursued by RF Jack in a P-51. RF Jack taking some damage. Unsure if he was fired at by AAA. No, he was not. So it must have been a deflection shot by Subaru's 190. So it must have been some excellent shooting there in a zoom and boom fashion. RF Jack and CMF 04, both P-51 pilots remaining north of the action. Major and a P-51. Haven't seen Major in too much of the action yet. I know he's looking to get in there and get to the fight, but right now it's just a matter of catching up with the Luftwaffe aircraft, which are zooming up and down, climbing and turning to put themselves in a good position. Luftwaffe grouped here with 4 aircraft in the middle. We have Salty's P-51, Showtime and a Spitfire, Major closest and in the most danger in a Spitfire, but it looks like he is not detected. And then the 2 P-51s of RF Jack and CMF 04 extending away from the fight. Major may give himself away here to more aircraft than he might want to let on. Looks like he's pursuing JG-27 Daniels 109, attempting to get a shot position. Okay, definitely sees that aircraft off his nose, but at this point it looks like he is not going to be looking for a shot opportunity. STP default face, now maneuvering, definitely attempting to line up a shot. I think he's actually going to be pursuing the Spitfire we were just watching, flown by Showtime. Default face in a really good shooting position, but he's going to overextend. Looks like he can't quite connect those initial shots. Subaru here in his 190, zooming and booming, doing what his aircraft does best, rather. Looks like Subaru is also going to be attempting to engage Major. Let's look at JG-27 Mad, who's pursuing the P-51 of Salty. Salty must see him as he's doing some defensive maneuvering here, but JG-27...
Yeah, and he has his gear out.
Gear down, okay, interesting. Unsure if that's deliberate or if it might be an engine bug there. I know sometimes they appear deployed if they're hit. But, or he's had an engine failure and he's bringing his aircraft in for an emergency landing. Okay, we've got an aircraft smoking and heading for the ground here. I think Major may have connected. Okay, looks like our scoring isn't updating on the chat events, unfortunately, which makes it a little more tricky for me. But I'm not sure who's missing from the action there. I want to say it's one of the JG-27 pilots, but not sure. I think Major may have got a deflection shot there, so sorry we missed that. But as you guys know, there's a lot of action to cover here. JG-27 Daniel and his 109. Fighting for position. Not sure if these pilots are able to keep tally on each other. Major shooting. Yep. definitely looks like he's engaged with the 109 or the 190 of Subaru. RF Jack's P-51 coming in, a little bit of wing damage there on the right, but he's attempting to climb and close the gap with the 109 there. Looks like RF...
Yeah, those two P-51s came in with a little bit of more altitude, so they might be able to catch the German planes on altitude.
Excellent, okay. I think that we just saw a few shots by Major and his Spitfire again. Looks like they didn't connect. RF Jack pursuing JG-27 Daniel, looking for the shot opportunity. JG-27 Daniel keeping it vertical here. Once again, looks like he's trying to bleed that P-51 of his speed while he extends just a little too long for the shoot opportunity, but it may not work. RF Jack keeping up his speed, above stall speed, surviving that loop, and still looking for that shooting position now. All RF Jack has to do right now is just make it connect. Looking at 6 o'clock is secured by the Spitfire of Major. However, Subaru in the 190 is pursuing CMF 109's P-51. Looks like the hits have landed. Yep, JG-27 still evasive, definitely taking some damage. Looks like JG-27 Daniel is taking fire from RF Jack's P-51 as he still pursues him in the vertical there. Some shooting going on down below. Looks like CMF 04. Unsure what his intent is right now, but it looks like he may be fighting for position, or yes, he's fighting for a position with STP Default Face, who is now vertically in scissors with him and almost lined up with a 6 o'clock shot here. So again, I feel that the Luftwaffe remains in control of the engagement. It's not for lack of aggression. We're seeing aggression on the RAF side, but the Luftwaffe seems to control the engagements by patient, careful positioning here and keeping it vertical, flying the plane's abilities, not getting down there in that low, high turn rate stuff with the Spitfires, and definitely challenging the P-51s to keep the vertical gap closed. JG-27 Daniel looking for a shoot opportunity, overextends, just not quite to line it up. Looks like CMF 04 saw him and was evasive. Default Face just took a front deflection shot. Looks like that was from the P-51 of RF Jack. Default Face now slotting in or looking to position to fire on CMF 04's P-51. Easier said than done, as he also suffers from overextending. CMF 04 very competent with those maneuvers to deny that position. RF Jack now firing on Default Face as he climbs after losing that shoot position on CMF 04. RF Jack really fighting for the shoot position. The P-51 is a very stable guns platform and has a great sight, so that is to his advantage. But Default Face is just flying the rivets out of his 109 and avoiding that shoot opportunity.
He has taken a few hits though.
Yeah, I saw some damage on his plane. RF Jack, some damage as well, not sure where that stemmed from. But it looks like Default Face was able to buy some time, just enough time for JG-27 to come in and join the fight. Now slotted in behind Salty. Salty's taking damage, a lot of shooting going on here. Going to be really tough to tell who's shooting at who, so we're going to try to focus in on JG-27 Daniel here. Just extended beyond the action here, we have what we could definitely classify as a 1944 vintage furball. 109s, P-51s, and Spitfires all trading blows here. RF Jack's pursuing Default Face. Again, still looking for that position. Default Face is shown. He's a competent pilot, but RF Jack hits an excellent deflection shot right before Default Face could escape and completely severs the elevator and tail section of Default Face. He is out of the fight. CMF 04 now pursuing JG-27 David Red. Looks like he's going to overextend, or perhaps he isn't aware of that. Looks like JG-27 Daniels looking for a deflection shot on the two P-51s flown by JG or Salty and RF Jack. Gonna overextend, I think. RF Jack really evasive there, or no, Salty rather, I know because his gear is down. Really evasive to the point of instability, but I think he's going to recover before hitting the ground. Salty now pursued by Subaru in his 190. Some very potent cannons on that plane, and Salty's in a real bad position here. All the 190 has to do to mess this up is overextend or fail to keep up in that turn. Salty corkscrewing, really going into a look like almost an uncontrolled barrel roll, but he's able to recover it. Subaru extends, so Salty's maneuver paid off. Salty attempts a reposition and a shot on Subaru. Looks like he took some left wing damage there, so some of those deflection shots may have done damage, or that may have been present beforehand. Hard to say. JG-27 David Red and JG-27 Daniel pursuing RF Jack's P-51, who is vertical and now in scissors, attempting to escape that shooting position. The RAF pilots definitely need some help here. It looks like while we've been watching this action, the Luftwaffe pilots Dark Raiders and JG-27 MAD have adopted the RAF's tactic of picking off ground targets. I see a lot of missing ground targets here, so we know that we have both the stationary targets, no, not quite, at least one of the stationary targets destroyed, which is going to put some great points on the board for the Luftwaffe. Dark Raiders and his 109 attempting to buy time for the rest of his team, although they could use his help. JG-27 is now pursuing RF Jack. RF Jack may be called back by his teammates or just attempting to escape the situation. We know his P-51 has definitely taken some damage here, and he may be looking to get out of the fight. Salty, in the meantime, pursues Subaru. And now Grumbles, I think this is a situation where Subaru, or however you're supposed to say his name, which is probably not the way I'm doing it, is escaping the situation here. With Salty's gear down, whether the sim is representing that correctly or not, there's no way he's going to be able to catch that 190. Am I correct?
Yeah, the 190 is turning around tightly now.
He is. So the 190, oh my God, deflection shot from a head pass. The 190 of Subaru hitting P-51 Salty, who's now going vertical. Looks like he may be attempting to line up a shot back at the 190, but he's definitely taken some damage. His aircraft now leaking some type of smoke, fumes possibly. He could be losing fuel. Yeah, Subaru's going to really be in the superior position here as he turns back around behind the P-51 of Salty, now giving him a very clear position, venting all that smoke and those fumes. It's going to be no problem for Subaru to keep track of Salty here. Salty's still fighting, still trying to keep himself in the fight here, or at least deny the shooting position of the 190 here. 190 unable to keep up with that turn, or no, perhaps he's doing this deliberately, extending vertically for a shooting position. Excellent reversal here. He may get a brief deflection shot, doesn't take it, wanting to conserve that ammo. Salty now nearly stalling out in his P-51 vertically. Wow, incredible flying, aggressive and decisive flying by Salty, pushing his machine to his limits here to escape. Oh my God, 190 of Subaru now departing controlled flight, killing his engine. Looks like he mitigated that torque and regained control of his plane here. For a second there, I thought he had lost it. Now back into position to try to line up. But even with the P-51, a wounded bird, the 190 really having a hard time getting that shot opportunity. In the meantime, JG-27 Mad, David Red, and Daniel here in the target area. It looks like the RAF has wised up to their attempts to destroy their ground targets and have returned in an attempt to protect them. We have the P-51 here of CMF-04 attempting deflection shots on JG-27, not deflection, maneuvering shots, as JG-27 Mad now fights in scissors to keep him out of that shooting position. Looks like CMF-04 won't be able to maintain it for long. A 190 chasing him closely. I think that's Dark Raiders there, extending without shooting opportunity. That 190 looked like it was really getting close to the ground here, but I think he was able to keep the shiny side up. Lots of exchange of fire here. Classic World War II furball going on. Really tough to keep track of all the action. I'm really curious to see what's going on with Salty and Subaru, but really right now I want to keep the focus on the larger merge. Really close call with the ground there as Showtime has David Red on his 6. Showtime really tries to keep it evasive here, mixing both vertical and horizontal maneuvering, but a deflection shot strikes Showtime there. Looks like on the right wing, maybe the rear fuselage. His plane seems to oscillate a little bit, unsure if that's just maneuvering or if he took some damage. He'll be in a shooting position on a JG-27 Daniel. That may have been what he had his sights on that entire time, or he may not see Daniel. It's hard to say at this point. CMF-04 trying to get in shooting positions with JG-27 Matt and David Red, but the RAF at a disadvantage here as there are now 4 aircraft. Looks like we just lost one too. CMF-04 must have hit the ground, leaving Showtime by himself. Let's look back at Subaru and Salty. Salty in a shooting position despite his wounded aircraft. Wow, what a hero. This guy has repositioned to shoot at the 190 of Subaru with a damaged plane. Unsure how long his plane is going to hold up, and unsure if the gear down is a glitch or if it's an accurate representation.
I think it's a glitch.
Okay, so yeah, I would say if his gear was down, his plane just wouldn't do this. So we'll count that as a glitch. Regardless, with the damaged plane, he's gotten behind Subaru's 190 and is in a shooting position. Subaru doing a lot of rolls and reversals here in an attempt to keep Salty from being in a shooting position. But Salty may be running out of ammo. I've seen him shoot a lot. Oh my God, Subaru hits the ground. I don't know if it was a pilot kill. I don't know if he just lost control, blacked out, or if Salty got a gun kill, but wow, really got to hand congrats to Salty here. Salty,
yeah, good reversal.
Yeah, excellent reversal in a damaged plane, managing to turn that around. Let's see if he can escape Dark Raiders. Dark Raiders is going to surely pick up Salty with him venting all those fumes and smoke. So Dark Raiders in a 109 may find himself in a better position than Subaru did in his 190 to finish what Subaru started. In the meantime, it looks like STP Default Face is taking a shoot opportunity at some of the ground targets, racking up even more points. If we see all the ground targets wiped from the board, that's going to be 18 points automatically for both teams, and it's going to turn into a strictly air-to-air situation here. 2 targets on the ground popping, so that's even more points in the bag for the Luftwaffe. Let's look back at Salty, who we've been following closely here. Salty may not be aware of the 109 of, I think it was Default Face, no, Dark Raiders, who's now chasing them. Dark Raiders probably knows that and is going to wait for a really good shooting position. There it is. Dark Raiders now opening up on Salty. Salty jinking towards the ground. I don't know if that was his plane reacting to damage or if it was a quick snap reaction to being shot at. I'm sure Salty is now desperately searching the sky for that 109, unbeknownst to him, flown by Dark Raiders, who is once again lining up a shooting position. How much more damage can this P-51 take? It's just been used and abused so much. Dark Raiders, I will be surprised if he does not connect the kill on this pass.
I think he's less engine power.
Yeah, his plane is definitely seems to be giving up the ghost here as his plane slows down to 110 knots, not far from the stall speed. Only one right-wing cannon group is working there as he attempted a desperate defensive shot at Dark Raiders 109. Salty keeping it low on the ground here. Sounds like his plane still has power. He's bringing it back up through 130 knots, so his aircraft is okay for now. But Dark Raiders again going to get a shoot opportunity. Let's see if he can make it connect. Oh, that's it. Salty is done. After all that fighting and all that flying, Salty's plane most certainly, even in those competent hands, will not be in a position to return the favor. Dark Raiders flying away from the fight there with a kill. Salty definitely made it last while he could, but his plane just couldn't take much more abuse. Going back to the merge over the air-to-ground target area for Blue 4, we see we've got some head-on passes and deflection shots from Major. 40 minutes on the game clock right now, so I'm going to go ahead and give a call out to all the contestants. Attention all contestants. 40 minutes remain. I say again, 40 minutes remain. Okay, and that was across all TeamSpeak channels, so they know what's going on here. We have JG27 Mad and Default Face is 109 attempting to get shooting positions over Major in his Spitfire, rather. Major Spitfire definitely is at a low altitude advantage in the turning fight, but he's not at a positional advantage, and it looks like those 109s are going to use that. Grummels, while we watch the action, did you want to give a thought on the match overall, the two-team strategies? Definitely saw a decisive commitment to the ground targets, but it looks like the Luftwaffe haven't sat on their hands. What are your thoughts so far?
Well, I think it was a really good strategy from the RAF to go for all those ground targets. But now, of course, they have to be careful that they keep that advantage up. Because if the Luftwaffe now, of course, manages to kill all their ground targets, then the Luftwaffe will be in the lead. But the Luftwaffe, on the other hand, has to be careful in this fight here that they don't lose too much of their speed. I think that is one of the problems that they are having, that they are getting always a little slow in those fights with the Spitfires.
Yeah, and I've seen really quickly in this match, whenever the Spitfires have somebody on their 6 or in that close quarters combat, they immediately just pull hard on the stick and within 2 or 3 passes, if not before that, turn the tables. Stooge was taking a shot opportunity at Dark Raiders there. However, Stooge is now finding himself defensive as he's merged with STP Default Face at a 109 who's looking for a shoot opportunity on him. Stooge breaking hard, using the advantage of the Spitfire to deny that shot opportunity, but Stooge is now 2 versus 1, maybe 3 versus 1. What will Stooge do? Is he going to go defensive, or is he going to, as I've seen him do before, take the fight right to them despite being outnumbered? Okay, yep, Stooge, as I just alluded to, looks like he may be looking for a shoot position on Default Face there despite being outnumbered. Pulling hard on his Spitfire. Before long, I think he's going to find himself in a shooting position. Taking some deflection shots there, but just not quite clean enough to make the connection there with Default Face's 109.
Yeah, in such a situation, the Spitfire is very good at draining the attacking plane's energy by just evading their fire for long enough that their speed drops and then get the upper hand.
Right, and as you just saw, we just saw an excellent kill by Stooge. Outnumbered, nonetheless, he takes the fight to them, splashing one of the 109s, the remaining 109 of Default Face, now looking to avenge his fallen teammate. Stooge extending out. As I mentioned, Stooge didn't shy away from the fight at all and immediately went on the offense, just as you alluded to, Grumbles. He took the advantage of the Spitfire, bled the enemy team of their energy as they tried to position with him, and then found himself in a position to actually kill one of those 109s and put himself now on equal footing. He now pursues Default Face away from the fight. Let's take a look at RF Jack and Dark Raiders. RF Jack's P-51 looking for a shoot opportunity on Dark Raiders 109. We've seen a lot of good flying out of the P-51 pilots today. Let's see if he can make that deflection shot connect. Not quite. Dark Raiders there did a good job of shooting that, or denying that shoot position in that turn. However, Dark Raiders is really not out of the woods yet. RF Jack's able to hold his own in the turning and maneuvering section of the fight here. And I think right here he might have a really good shoot opportunity. Yes, couple hits, but nothing too serious yet. RF Jack's still looking for a kill on Dark Raiders. Now he has somebody on his 6. Tables have been turned. Coming to the aid of Dark Raiders is STP Default Face, who was being chased by Stooge just a minute ago. Default Face committed to helping his teammate out and got in there quick and splashed RF Jack. We see CMF 04 now finishing what RF Jack was starting there, getting a connection and a probable kill here on Dark Raiders. Dark Raiders is damaged and in a bad situation. Lots of 50 caliber coming out. Looks like an elevator just came off that plane. These World War II era planes cannot sustain the loss of an elevator. Really few planes can. Oh, but guess what? He paid the price. CMF 04 splashed by STP Default Face, now with 2 defensive kills for his teammate, but a very competent 104 Stooge chasing them. Looks like Default Face has thrown a flare out, probably as a call for help from any Luftwaffe pilots in the area. Unfortunately, I don't think he has any. I'm sorry, what was that?
There are two coming in from higher altitude.
Okay.
So if they can spot them, they should be in a good position to attack.
Good, so his flare may have, yes, you're correct. JG-27 and Subaru's 190 coming in. Him popping the flare is a great idea despite the pressure on him. Definitely let them know that something was going on, and we're going to see him attempt to get some help from his teammates. Stooge still pursuing STP Default Face as he possibly wanders out of the advantageous territory of the Spitfire. Now, you did say the Spitfire was the second best low altitude climbing aircraft, is that correct?
Yes, right after the BF-109.
So the 109 would have just a little bit of an advantage here as he flees from 104 Stooge. Looks like the P-51 of Salty coming in and pursuing Default Face. Default Face has done some excellent flying here, saving 2 teammates, getting 2 kills, but he may pay the price here as Salty's P-51 just lays into him. Near miss there, but definitely a good kill for Salty. Great shooting. Stooge turns east away from the fight. Looks like Major and a P-51 now looking to get a score of his own as he pursues the 190 of Sabru as Default Face splashes into the terrain there. We can see him under silk as he drifts towards the ground. 35 minutes on the clock as we see the 190 of Sabru extend away from Major and Salty, probably in a speed advantage there at least for the time being. and it looks like he may be just out of effective cannon range, or at least optimum cannon range. What do you think, Grummels? Do you think Salty's going to close the gap with that 190, or is that 190 going to pull away there as Subaru heads east?
I think at the moment he still has a little bit of speed advantage to close in, but that won't last forever. But I think it might just be enough to catch up this time.
Right, yeah, looks like it. Salty currently looking for his airspeed here. Currently 317 knots. Subaru extending out at 308, so he's got a 10-knot closure advantage there. Daniel taking top cover, maybe to assist his teammate or to engage the P-51s, or I'm sorry, the Spitfire of Stooge and Showtime. Let's take a look at Subaru again. In his 190s, he extends away from Salty's P-51. You were right, Grummels. He's closed the gap, and he's in a shooting position. Let's see if Subaru can turn it around here. Definitely not in his aircraft's ideal position with that P-51 on his 6. I know the P-51 can usually pretty handily outturn the 190 in most situations, so that's going to play out as an advantage for Salty here, who's going to probably get some really good gun opportunities if he doesn't overextend.
Yeah, and with the defensive flying of the 190, it also slowed down, so it can't get away anymore.
Right, he bled airspeed, and in this situation may play out to be bad news. Okay, and his aircraft disappeared there. Unsure if that was a disconnect or a missed event, or if he crashed into the water.
No, he
there.
crashed into the sea.
He did. Okay, I didn't catch that, so I was switching through views to try to give a nice little epic view there. So Subaru crashed into the sea. Did it look like it was resultant of damage, Grummels?
Maybe, or he's evasive flying.
Right, gotcha. Okay, so that's another point for the RAF. We're going to try to get a score point update here. In fact, I'm going to ping my scorekeeper, so give me just a second. Okay, sorry guys, just pinging there for a score update so we can try to give you guys live scoring. Always really a challenge in these fights. Definitely lots of losses. The score on the board is a little old, so don't bank on that. It's going to be a little bit tougher to call. As we look at the map here, as we wait for this merge to form, we can see that only 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 18 ground targets remain. That means that the Luftwaffe has killed 14 ground targets, the RAF killing 18. So I'm going to go ahead and give the Luftwaffe their score boost of 14 points. So stand by here as I update that for you guys. So we'll see that come up on the board. Oh, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Luftwaffe aircraft destroyed 14.
Okay, so they have destroyed 14 total.
They have had 14 killed. The RAF have had 20 killed.
Okay, understood. Okay, with 14 aircraft losses by the RAF, along with the 14 ground points, then that would be 28 for the Luftwaffe. And you said the losses of the Luftwaffe at this time were, say again, Yak?
Luftwaffe aircraft losses are 14.
Okay.
RAF losses are 20.
Okay, understood. So we'll get that scoring update for you guys.
So pretty close by now.
Yes, it is pretty close. That will put the total score, unofficial score, at 34-42 in favor of the RAF. Those ground points still playing out as an advantage to them. We'll turn back now to the action. Salty, RF Jack, and 104 Stooge outnumbering JG-27. Aircraft scattered all over the place. Dark Raiders now north in his 109 with the P-51 of CMF-04 heading into the action. Looks like the effort may have been to defend the ground targets here, but I'm not sure. Showtime and Spitfire coming back to the action. So we're going to see for at least a few minutes a power play for the RAF team, as they have 5 aircraft on scene. Only the 2 Luftwaffe aircraft of Dark Raiders and JG-27 in the area, but it looks like that'll be 3 soon, with JG-27 Mad and his 109 coming from the east. JG-27 Daniel taking some shots. Look like he's being pursued by the P-51 of RF Jack. RF Jack has shown he's definitely capable of connecting those shots. So we will see if those yaw and, yeah, it looks like a lot of yaw maneuvers there to maybe mitigate his shooting opportunity or make it more difficult. He is keeping it somewhat vertical here, not a whole lot of left or right maneuver to try to deny that shooting position. JG-27 Daniels definitely taking some hits. Part of his aircraft coming off there. Looks like his right elevator has come off, and there goes the tail. JG-27 now splashed by CMF-04. Excellent shooting there. Or, I'm sorry, RF Jack rather. His aircraft heading for the ground. Salty pursuing JG-27 Mad. Definitely scored some hits. JG-27 Mad now venting and heading for the ground here. Let's see what his aircraft looks like. A lot of damage. Yep, that pilot is hitting the silk. He is out of there. Another kill. RAF taking advantage of that power play. So the RAF has really secured their ground target area, but it looks like that Dark Raiders took advantage of that distraction and did hit one of those BTRs. So that's going to be 1 more point on the board there for the Luftwaffe here eventually. He may pay the price for that. RF Jack and the P-51 pursuing Dark Raiders in his 109 as he extends away from the fight. Looks like he's definitely aware of RF Jack. He's trying to keep evasive there and keep him off his 6 o'clock. Flare in the air, looking for help. Not sure if it'll get there in time, but he's at least letting his teammates know where the action is at. RF Jack looks like he's trying to connect that shot on Raiders. Dark Raiders climbing into the air and rolling. RF Jack still looking for that 50 caliber shooting position. Wow, lots of rolling scissors here. Or I'm sorry, just rolls, not really scissors at all.
No, those were rolling scissors.
Were they? Okay, well, I guess I got it right. I figured I was using the incorrect nomenclature. Okay, so RF Jack, a few shots, not sure many connected. It looks like that Dark Raiders did mitigate most of them pretty well. RF Jack now breaking off, possibly to let his teammates have a shot. Dark Raiders joined soon by STP Default Face. Default Face has shown he is excellent at buying his teammates time and taking the pressure off of them. In the last merge, he killed 2 P-51s that were chasing his teammates, eventually going down to cannon fire by 104 Stooge, I believe, but definitely showing he is a team player there with some excellent shooting. Dark Raiders did take some hits. We see fuselage and left wing root damage, as well as left and right elevator damage that may be affecting his aircraft's ability to perform at the top of its level here. Showtime in the P-51 coming in on the deck, attempting to close the gap, but Dark Raiders built up some speed, 263 knots, Showtime 262 knots. So right now Showtime is not going to close that gap for a shooting position. Let's see Default Face here. Default Face going on the offense against 3 RAF pilots, taking a deflection shot. It's RF Jack there, unable to connect it. Looks like Salty's P-51 is pursuing Default Face, STP Default Face, as he extends in a vertical maneuver here, attempting to deny that shooting position. The Salty P-51, Salty, not the Salty P-51, is pursuing him as he climbs towards the lake here. Let's see if Salty can get in a shooting position. We've seen Salty really show he is willing to stall that plane out for a shooting position, and on at least one occasion that I've watched, it's paid off. But it looks like in this case, he's attempting to maintain that lag position. Flare in the air by STP Default Face, again calling his Luftwaffe friends to his aid. We see Subaru's 190 coming to the action quickly, I'm sure with altitude and energy. JG-27 David Red on the defensive from RF Jack. Looks like we're seeing sort of a wagon wheel form here just a little bit as RAF aircraft move into pursuing positions. Subaru really needs to make this count. If Subaru comes in and helps his teammate in his time of need, this could really turn the fight in the Luftwaffe's favor here. Is he bearing down on the right guy? Yes. He's getting in right behind Salty, whose P-51 was just pursuing default face a second ago. Looks like he'll overextend, unable to connect any of those shots. Well, let's see if he keeps it vertical. Salty not going defensive despite the 190 on his 6 o'clock. Still pursuing STP default face, firing off a few 50 caliber rounds there that may have connected. I'm sorry, that was David Red. I'll get that correct. STP default face just dove. It looks like he did a vertical dive on RF Jack and probably attempted a deflection shot. The P-51 of Salty being pursued by default face and the 190 of Subaru here as he takes it to the ground in a dive in an attempt to evade those pursuing aircraft. JG-27, David Red rather, I think I called him default face in error, pursued Salty onto the ground. Looks like Salty is, yeah, he hit the ground. He's C-fitted. So Salty pushed his plane just a little too hard. CMF-04 attempting to slot in behind, well, I think that's a 190, so I think he's pulling in behind Subaru here. Subaru in a right bank, possibly losing visual on CMF-04, who's looking for that 50 caliber gun kill. At least one shot connecting here.
But he got his 109 behind him.
He does? Okay, we'll go. Yes, you're right. Right behind him. He better make that shot count and get out of there because that 109 is in an excellent shooting position. And I have a feeling when CMF-04 sees those tracers, he's going to know that his situation has changed drastically. Oh, he's able to get that kill off on Subaru. Let's see if he can make it count. 109 pursuing him. Definitely going fully evasive here. CMF-04 being pursued by, help me out here, F10 map, is that, no, that is not those guys. That is JG-27 David Red. Let's look at it from his perspective as he attempts to line up the shot. Really close, they hit each other. Yeah, JG-27 David has struck CMF-04. His aircraft has been destroyed. He's headed for the ground. CMF-04's aircraft has come away from that collision with heavy damage, still flyable, losing that right aileron. He's not going to be able to fight with that aircraft, but maybe he can at least get it home. I don't think the entire match we've actually seen an aircraft go back to the base. I'm sure it's happened, but we haven't watched it. In the meantime, RF Jack shot up P-51 pretty high in a vertical position here. Looks like he's got at least 109 above him, fighting for position, but with no help nearby, he's going to find himself very outnumbered. Major in his Spitfire due east probably sees the furball in front of him and is planning his entrance to the dilemma. RF Jack now defensive and diving for the ground here. Flare in the air once again. We've seen heavy usage by the Luftwaffe in the 109 using those flares. I think that that's really been an excellent choice by them, and we've seen a lot of communication in that sense, giving probably on the TeamSpeak. You can imagine that they're letting their teammates know when they're popping a flare, and those teammates in turn immediately know where the fight's going on. We got 22 minutes left on the clock here. I'm going to try to get scoring updates to you guys soon. It's very challenging, but I'm going to go ahead and let the players know at 20 minutes that 20 minutes remain. Now, an aircraft pursuing RF Jack here, I think that may have been CMF-04 who was smoking. CMF-04 now being chased by the 109 of default face. We know CMF-04 was struck in that air-to-air collision here. Default face taking advantage of his damaged aircraft, putting some hits into him. Looks like he's still flying, but definitely has taken some damage. CMF-04 already having lost a right aileron is now smoking pretty heavily. RF Jack turning around to attempt to help his teammate get out of that situation, now chasing STP default face. Major may finally get a chance to join in the action here, as it looks like communicating with his teammates he has narrowed down STP default face as his target. I don't know if default face sees him or not. He's definitely coming from his 9 o'clock low there. Let's see if he gets into shooting position.
Yeah, and only 2 ground targets left for the RAF now.
2 ground
so they
targets.
Almost. That is of course because having those ground targets was a big advantage for the RAF, since while they were defending those, they had a shorter way to the objective than the Luftwaffe, so they could reinforce faster. But as soon as they lose all those ground targets, that is no longer the case.
Yeah, exactly, which means that we'll get the scoring updated soon, but that's a good point, Grummels. The RAF really was decisive on their initial strategy to attack the ground targets. But I feel that throughout the match here, with 20 minutes coming up on the clock, we've seen the Luftwaffe win quite a few merges, and even if they haven't won all of them, they've pushed the action west, and that's given them the opportunity to have a little bit more safety in going after those ground targets.
The RAF have lost 21 aircraft. The Luftwaffe have lost 19 aircraft.
Okay, thank you, Yak. We're going to pause for 1 moment as I update the score. All pilots, this is the event moderator. 20 minutes remain. And Yak Beer, give me those numbers real quick so I can make sure I crunch it correctly on the board.
The RAF have lost 21 aircraft. The Luftwaffe have lost 19 aircraft.
$21 for the RAF, 19 for the Luftwaffe.
Affirmative.
Okay. And then we're going to add...
Yeah, so it's even now.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to add to that the scores here to make sure we get everything right. Stand by. And Grumbles, you said we have all but 2 ground targets destroyed, correct?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, we should see updated scores coming on the board if I'm correct. 37 for the RAF, 35 for the Luftwaffe. So the score gap has closed quite a bit with 18 minutes on the clock. We always want to provide accurate scoring. It's a little tricky on these live events, but one thing we know for now is with the score gap that's that close, it may be difficult to announce the winner at the end of the clock. So if you guys could just be patient with us as we keep those scores up to date for you guys with only 18 minutes left. We will have a winner announced at the end of the live stream, hopefully. If not, we'll let you guys know why a winner isn't announced and point you in the direction of the thread that will announce that winner. But typically at the Grudge Match Series, we're able to announce the winners by the end. Very close scoring here. Probably the closest we've ever had at this stage in a Grudge Match Series match. 37 for the RAF, 35 for the Luftwaffe is extremely close.
I think Luftwaffe is also 37.
Okay, well we will correct it here in just a second. It's again, live scoring is tricky, so I'll make sure we get it accurately. But in any case, by the end of the match, we will most certainly have a final score, so we can announce the winner here. Hopefully, while the aircraft are flying back to base. So let's look at what's developed on the map. The Luftwaffe going down for those 2 ground targets. The only 2 BTRs remaining. The 109 of STP default phase strafing them. Haven't seen any use of air-to-ground ordnance like bombs or rockets. All aircraft have opted for the cannon, which Grumbles very concisely pointed out is probably because they don't want to lose the speed or a merged fighting advantage. Okay.
Yeah, the cannons are pretty good versus those BTRs.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god, STP default phase. Like Grumble said, effectively destroying that BTR with cannon and missing it by inches. that was enough to make me wince. So very skillful and courageous. We'll use that word flying there by STP default phase. He's getting away with killing all these ground targets. So we're going to find ourselves in a situation where both teams.
And he has good.
Yeah, both teams are going to
cover from above.
Oh, sorry about that, Grumbles. Yes, yes, he does. Quite a bit of cover. Major's going to attempt to make him pay for that. Did he? Yeah, he connected with that last BTR-80, didn't he? It's destroyed. Major now pursuing STP default phase, but like Grumbles just said, he's got excellent cover, so they're not going to be able to make him pay for killing those ground targets that easily. Salty now chasing STP default phase, who just took away those final 2 ground targets for the Luftwaffe. Salty now pursuing him and rolling scissors. We've seen this before. Salty's attempting to line up that shot, not being afraid to pull the trigger and splash STP default phase. Great flying there. 104 Stooge now pursuing Dark Raiders Daniel. STP default phase going down, being pursued now by JG27 Daniel, who's taken a couple shots. Looks like Salty uses his altitude to escape, diving for the ground, getting up to 300 knots easily there as he escapes. Stooge, a very capable marksman, now slotting in behind Dark Raiders 109, attempting to help out his teammate Salty in the P-51. Stooge really has got to line up his shot or Salty's going to be in trouble. Salty flying like a madman to deny that shooting position. Not only does he deny it to the default face pursuing him, or I'm sorry, the 109 pursuing him, but he also actually has Stooge overshoot. So both aircraft there losing their positioning. Salty doing a great job of evasive flying. We have an aircraft smoking badly. STP default face. I think this was the aircraft hit earlier. Still in the fight though, still attempting to fight with his teammates. Stooge sliding in behind him.
But now there's a Spitfire behind him.
Yeah, Stooge is behind him, and Stooge is a great marksman, so I think he's going to definitely have potential to bring that aircraft down. Salty reversing on STP Defiance, now going on the offense, possibly scoring a couple hits, but taking some damage to his left wing root and left wing tip as well. Big merge here with the numbers airing on the Luftwaffe side. Salty really evasive, pursued by 109s, hitting the ground. Salty is down. Major behind Dark Raiders, watching his teammate careen into the ground here, attempting to escape. Major now escaping. Looks like, I would say that's the 190. No, the 109. Oh my God, I think Major just took some hits. Excuse me, guys.
No, he took 109 down.
He took a 109 down, but took some hits himself. Smoke everywhere. Default face still in the fight here. JG27 Matt and Daniel attempting to get behind Major here in his Spitfire as Major goes evasive. We'll watch this action for just a second, then we'll turn over to 104 Stooge, who's also outnumbered. 104 Stooge is down too late. It looks like that either the 190 of Subaru or the 109 of David Red took him down as he was outnumbered. It all rests with Major here in his Spitfire as he takes on the 109s of Daniel, Default Face, and Mad, the 109 of Default Face being damaged. Now, even though he's outnumbered here, Grummels, I think that we've seen the Spitfire turn the tables in this situation just due to its sheer agility. What do you think is going to be the outcome of this little battle?
Well, we'll see. The Spitfire, of course, can use its great maneuverability to be a really hard target.
Right. Oh, too much.
Now I
too
think he's
much.
going down.
Yes, Major pushed. Right when you said that, Major pushed his Spitfire just beyond what it was comfortable doing. Luftwaffe coming away from that fight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 aircraft still in the air. I think only one loss that I saw. We may have just seen the Luftwaffe pull ahead on scoring. Excuse me, guys. Scoring is going to be tricky. So we'll have to try to give you guys a accurate scoring here as soon as possible. 12 minutes left on the clock. Could that be it? That may be the end. We have some aircraft in the air right now. Showtime in his Spitfire heading back towards his teammates. CMF 04 in a P-51 and RF Jack in a P-51 heading back to the fight. Even if both these aircraft get to the 5 ship of the Luftwaffe over the bullseye now, they're going to find themselves outnumbered. So with 12 minutes on the clock, we may see one final vital merge here. Scorekeeper Yakbeard, I want you to just focus on final scoring. We know 18 points are automatic for both teams, so from now until I call or I call knock it off and tell aircraft to return. Just do your best to crunch the numbers and get us a good final scoring. I know it's tricky, so if we can't do that right when the match ends, that's understandable. But just try to make that your priority. Guys, the scoreboard is not up to date anymore. I think we just saw the Luftwaffe pull ahead a little bit, so keep that in mind as we go forward here with 11 minutes left in the match. At 10 minutes, I'm going to give a call out for all teams. So Grummels, I'm curious to hear your thoughts at this point. I think we've seen the Luftwaffe pull ahead just a little bit. What do you think the playbook is for the RAF at this point?
I'm not really sure if the Luftwaffe is currently really ahead, but if they are, of course, I would expect the Luftwaffe now to get closer to their base and play it more defensively to keep up that lead. And the RAF in this case, of course, has to be aggressive to get kills if they are really behind.
Right.
Current scoring is the Luftwaffe have lost 20 aircraft. The RAF have lost 24 aircraft.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it's 4 kills that the RAF needs, or 5 to get ahead.
Well, that would put the RAF score at 38, and as I crunch the numbers here, scorekeeping, give me the RAF lost aircraft or a Luftwaffe lost aircraft one more time.
Luftwaffe have lost 20 aircraft.
Okay, thank you, sir. There you go, ladies and gents. Scoring on the board is live. Luftwaffe pulls ahead by 4. That is 42 for the Luftwaffe, 38 for the RAF, as we have the potential for one last epic merge here at Bullseye. And by God, am I sweating as commentator, because I know that this is going to be really tough to cover. All the teams are getting the 10-minute call out right now. Event moderator to all teams, 9 minutes, 45 seconds remain on the clock. Current scoring, unofficial, Luftwaffe 42, RAF 38. So there you go, viewers. I just stirred the pot. I let the pilots know exactly where we stand, and that is going to possibly influence how they fly. I try not to stir the pot too much from the commentator's perspective, but in all fairness, I think it's fair for both teams to know where they stand at this point in the match. So we've got 9 minutes on the clock. Scoring could be really, really close, and it's going to be tricky to score this. So let's see how this plays out. CMF 04, RF Jack and P-51s, Showtime and a Mustang, moving into a trailing position behind JG-27 Mad and JG-27 Daniel. David Red, Dark Raiders, and Subaru extending away and building altitude. We've seen the Luftwaffe do this before. I think this is them playing a cool hand here. I've seen a couple aircraft, a Spitfire and a 109 with flaps down. Maybe that's because they were attempting to climb at their best rate shortly. This looks very much to me, Grummels, like a deliberate attempt by the Luftwaffe to lead them right into their territory. They now know that they're ahead unofficially, scoring-wise. Are they going to try to pull them into their air defense, or are they just looking to draw them into the trap that's set? That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, it's possible that they try to get to their air defenses to get that advantage. I think actually the Mustangs at the moment are actually at a higher altitude than the Luftwaffe from what I have seen, but they are of course also a little bit behind.
Right, I see CMF 04 climbing through 14,000 and 15,000 for JG-27 Mad, so very close, or maybe a little higher for one team or the other. RF Jack now on level flight. Looks like he's definitely got visual on that 3-ship Luftwaffe or 2-ship of JG-27 Mad and Daniel. I almost expect this to be like a trap, though. What I expect to happen is the Luftwaffe, as soon as one of these P-51s commits, just to turn in and focus down on that aircraft like we've seen happen before. Maybe I'm reading into it too much. Maybe that's not the plan, but it sure looks that way to me. Okay, Mad still extending away from the fight, but pretty soon they're going to be run down by the P-51s of CMF 04 and RF Jack. In fact, as CMF 04 looks up just a little bit, he's going to see the 109 of JG-27 Daniel almost in a shooting position if he just pushes a little more horsepower out of the Merlin and that P-51. It's a Merlin, right? Is it a Merlin engine? Hopefully I got that right.
Yeah, it's a license-produced Merlin.
Good.
Merlin.
Good. Ventured just a little bit out of my territory with this match going into World War II, but I've tried to make up for that the last few days by doing some reading and, of course, bringing in the encyclopedia that is Grummels. So you've helped me a lot with that, my friend. I appreciate it. Okay, we got David Red now turning back. Looks like he's going to be trying to get into shooting position behind CMF 04 and RF Jack, but those guys are committing to following him, which is going to, in my opinion, put them in a disadvantaged position. Yes, looks like exactly as we predicted or suspected. As soon as a RAF aircraft turn back, all the Luftwaffe aircraft turn in. So definitely some cohesion and communication going on here in the Luftwaffe channel. Turning back is going to...
Matt just got a kill.
Okay, which aircraft was that?
That was a Mustang from what I've seen.
Okay, got it.
Very nice deflection shot.
I missed it. Sorry about that, guys. Must have been RF Jack's Mustang splashed by JG27 Mad in the 109. So must have been a really good deflection shot. Too quick for me to catch, for sure. JG27 Daniel looking to pay his teammate back with the scoring so close. It's going to be really, really tricky here. A kill like that could count with only 4 scores separating the board right now. Okay, Daniel, JG27 Mad, closing in on CMF04, I think, looking for a shooting opportunity. CMF04 diving for the ground. Daniel not choosing to follow him. They want to keep that altitude. It looks like they're not willing to give it up, to give up that energy advantage. Subaru screaming in towards Showtime. Looks like he's going to definitely be looking for a deflection shot there at least. He's probably in his 190's element right now if he can maintain it. Showtime in the Spitfire heading for the ground, probably looking to get in his territory, just hoping against all hope that 109 will chase him in a turn fight. Let's see what decision Subaru makes there as he chases and attempts some.
He's in fire position.
Yeah, he is, and he took some shots there, but I don't think he quite connected them. Extending now, Showtime totally reverses. CMF04 also reversing and heading for the ground here. RAF is really being forced on the defense, trying to drag the Luftwaffe into the fight with them. Luftwaffe has been staying above it for now. Right now we see JG27 changing that as he pursues the Spitfire of Showtime down towards the ground, really wondering where the rest of the RAF pilots here. JG27 Mag climbing, now with CMF04's P51 right behind him, in shooting position possibly. A lot of cautious flying by these pilots here. JG27 Mad in his 109, now behind CMF04's Mustang. A lot of reversals and changing. CMF04 braking hard and pulling up here, diving for the ground, trying to get that speed up. Looks like he is slowly pulling ahead of JG27 Mad, but not sure if it's going to be enough to deny him shooting position. Again, JG27 Mad pulls up, deciding he didn't want to commit to that diving fight. Salty, now behind JG27 Mad, seen a lot of aggressive flying by Salty. In fact, this is the guy who took a P51 that looked like it had come right out of the scrapyard and splashed 2 planes with it. So, oh my God, Salty maybe overstressing his airframe. Not sure about that one. Dark Raiders now pursuing Stooge's Spitfire. Stooge diving for the ground as we see an exploding aircraft head for the ground. Not sure if that was Salty or not. We know his aircraft took some heavy damage. Could have been a deflection shot or an airframe overstress. JG27 running over the pond here in the 109, being pursued closely by JG27, or I'm sorry, by 104 Stooge, who's broken off. Seen another aircraft splashed here. Grumbles, did you catch that loss? It just disappeared off my map.
I think that was Salty.
Okay, let's take a look here. Yes, we have Salty again with the right wing smoking heavily. Still in the air, but unsure if his aircraft is taking damage. Due to a limitation of the editor, I'm not able to see him on the map, so I kind of presumed him lost a minute ago. JG27 Mad taking hits and smoking. Looks like that shot was by CMF04 and deflection. Possibly Showtime in the Spitfire. Either way, his aircraft is taking hits to the fuselage, is smoking and heading down. Unsure if he's just trying to get away or if he's severely damaged. We'll see if he recovers from that maneuver. Subaru and Major, JG27 Daniel, all in a trade here. Daniel and Major in scissors attempting to fight for position. The Spitfire is in an advantage here. He's really going to be able to pull that nose through. Oh, that's the 190 of Subaru, I believe, right there. So the Spitfire is definitely in an advantage. Attempts some shots, gets some deflection shots. And he reverses and gets Major right off his tail. That Subaru's 190 there. That's going to be an interesting fight to watch because I feel like Subaru might be able to get away from Major, but Major's really getting some good deflection shots off and doing some damage to that 190. Let's take a look over here. It looks like CMF04 and Showtime pursuing JG27 Mad with Daniel David Red of the Luftwaffe lining up behind them. Major falling behind Subaru in his 190 as he pulls away. We now have an aircraft smoking and on fire. I think that will be Salty, who I cannot see on the F10 map, but I know is still in the air. Aircraft smoking over here to the west. Let's see if we can locate that. Definitely some damage to David Red. We'll keep eyes on the 190 of Subaru here as he pulls away from the action. Definitely going to be able to pull some distance between him and Major. We know Salty's back there somewhere in his stealthy P-51. CMF 04 doing some real damage to a plane just in front of him. Let's see if we can figure out who that is. JG-27 Mads 190. And I thought I saw a AAA or a deflection shot coming at him. Nope, definitely a deflection shot as we hear that 109 go screaming by. Major now looking for a position to shoot. Still pursuing. Oh my God, and hit. Looks like another deflection shot here. Unknown who got the hit or if it was an airframe overstress, but Major is in the ground and out of the fight. 5 seconds left on the clock here, guys. I'm going to have to call the fight during a merge, something I've never done in the Grudge Match series. Attention, all contestants. Knock it off, knock it off, knock it off. Disengage from your current fight and RTV. No further kills will be scored at this time. Okay, so buying time for the aircraft fleeing over their base. We saw the Luftwaffe run back to their defenses here. That may have been what got the Spitfire rather of Major, because we saw him rather inexplicably lose a wing and head for the ground. Didn't quite catch it. The clock is over. Not sure who pulled ahead there. I want to say the Luftwaffe maintained their lead, but I'm not sure. Looks like all the aircraft are in a orderly fashion, leaving each other and heading back to base. So let's see if we can work on official scoring here, and we'll watch the recoveries while we do that.
Well, that was a good fight.
Yeah, excellent action. A lot of fighting, really hard to keep track of from the moderator's perspective. Hey guys, if you could just stay tuned. I wanted to announce the winner over Twitch, and I also wanted to check in with my community manager and partner here, Flankerator. And we're also going to get final scoring in as we watch David Red's 109 safely make it back to Krasnodar. Showtime CMF 04 heading back. Stooge was heading out to the action, but didn't quite make it in time. All right, we'll keep the camera on the recoveries of the Luftwaffe here while I check in on our final scoring as we see celebratory flares in the air over Krasnodar.
All right, I'll just tell you then. No, let me just give it to you, and then you can announce it. I have the blue team. RAF has lost a total of 46 units. That's everything. The red team has lost a total of 40 units. Firm, and the server was not broadcasting deaths in the chat, so if there were some airfield home base crashes, I didn't catch them. Yeah, I feel confident that the Luftwaffe will hold the win even after more detailed scoring. Okay, ladies and gents, here we go. We have the winner ready to announce. Keep in mind that official scoring will be up on the Grudge Match Series Round 4 thread under the tournament subsection. But at this time, we are comfortable announcing the Luftwaffe as the winner today. The Luftwaffe coming away with a score of 46. The RAF with 40. This is the closest Grudge match we have ever seen. Congratulations to the Luftwaffe pilots. I'm going to go ahead and announce it across all the channels so they know what's going on here. Okay, attention all pilots. Preliminary winner announcement. This is the closest Grudge Match Series score we have ever had. Congratulations to the Luftwaffe with 46 total points. RAF, also congratulations to you with 40 points. Excellent flying on both sides. Recover and head up to the event check-in channel. And once the broadcast is finished, I'll head up there and talk to you folks. So there you go, guys. We have the winning faction, the Luftwaffe with 46. Again, the RAF with 40. The closest grudge match score I've ever had in 4 rounds, and it was definitely a zinger. Grummels, as we wrap things up here, our goal is to announce the winner of our live stream giveaway here. Checking in with Flankerator, who is our SASim.com co-organizer, and the gentleman running the scoring contest. May be difficult for him to determine the winner with us being on live stream, but actually, no, I don't think so, because it looks like there was not too many bets placed in the scoring thread. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get with Flankerator, and we're going to announce the winner. The winner is going to receive a free DCS aircraft or Normandy module giveaway. That's from me to you as the organizer of the Grudge Match series. So I'm not promising, extra prizes that weren't promised by Ed. That's coming from me to you directly. So with that being said, we're going to try to get the winner of the scoring contest announced here in just a second, and we will send you a PM on the Ed forums, and we'll get you sorted out there. So stand by just a minute, guys, and we'll watch a few more recoveries while we handle that. Okay, guys, sorry about that. So back with you here as we wrap things up. What we're probably going to do is announce the betting contest winner, which was hosted by Flankerator. Flankerator, big thanks to you for all your help in the organization of the event. But what we're probably going to do is announce the winner of that on the Ed forums after the official scoring is done. Today, as we stand now, we're confident in announcing the Luftwaffe won. But we're going to invite everybody who is involved with the contest, including the participants and the viewers, to follow the action on the official thread to make sure that that scoring decision holds. So that's a situation we've not been in before in the Grudge match. Usually it's been pretty clear, and live scoring is super tricky. But that being said, for now we are calling it for the Luftwaffe. We will update the scoring situation on the Ed forums under the Grudge Match Series Round 4 Luftwaffe versus RAF thread, and that is under the Tournaments subforum. For the scoring contest winner, we're going to announce that under the scoring contest thread created by Flankerator. So if you placed a bet, please make sure to follow that closely. We will be contacting you with the prize, and we sure appreciate your participation there. So we're going to wrap things up here so we can go off the air. Grummels, why don't you give us your closing thoughts? And before you do, I just want to thank you. You provided excellent commentary and a really good assessment there at the beginning of the match of the aircraft. So go ahead and give us your thoughts.
Well, certainly a great fight with a lot more action than I actually expected. I think the RAF at the beginning had a very good strategy, with the idea being to kill all the ground targets first, and then if they go defensive they have an advantage because they are over their own ground targets which are closer to their base, so they can reinforce faster and should have the numbers advantage. But in the end it didn't quite work out, and I think they got drawn away from that defensive fight over their own units a bit too often, where they were then outnumbered and couldn't quite keep their ground targets defended.
Yep,
but
fair
overall,
points.
certainly great flying from everyone, especially Sortie, great flying in the P-51, very nice defensive flying, and certainly awesome to watch fights.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and Grummels, you did a great job. Guys, if you enjoyed hearing Grummel's commentary today, you check out his YouTube channel, Grummel's Gaming, is that correct? All one word?
Yeah, it is.
yeah, he does awesome simulator-related videos. In fact, whenever a new aircraft comes out or something happens in the sim, I always have his channel, on speed dial because I want to see his assessment of the new content or new aircraft. And just puts out great content. So it was great to have you. You did a great job, and I really appreciate it. Also want to thank Yakbeard over from Black Knight Squadron for providing that official scoring. Just as a reminder to everybody watching, we are calling the preliminary winner today, but we'll get the scoring updated officially on the Ed forums. Yak did a great job, so we appreciate you, and we know it's high pressure with everything going on so quickly. And then finally, we had Eeks from Burning Skies here. He's the host of the Burning Skies server. Eeks, we really appreciate you hosting the event today. Did you have any thoughts or any final farewells before we shut down the stream?
Thank you. And I want to say that the event was great, and we are looking forward to host more of such events, and we are open for any cooperation with different DCS communities to cooperate and bring up as many quality events as possible. So you can contact me by any means on the forum or at our Facebook group, and I think we'll cooperate, and I would like to thank you for holding this event. It's very pleasing to hold them in a group of enthusiasts, but not solo, and it's good to cooperate with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Eeks. Hey, guys, make sure to check out the Burning Skies server. That was our host today, and we really appreciate it. Wouldn't have been possible without you. And then finally, guys, we're going to thank sasim.com. Flankerator couldn't be with us on voice comms today, but Flankerator is my co-organizer, and his sasim.com PvP group is a really great network. Got a belly landing going on there. And he sanctions our events and scores them officially, and those scores go into the sasim.com ranking, which is awesome. So check that out. And then finally, Eagle Dynamics officially sponsored the event today, providing copies of DCS Normandy, their upcoming terrain module, to the winners of today's event, which we believe to be the Luftwaffe, and we'll hold to that until we come up with something different. But thank you, Eagle Dynamics, for sponsoring the event. We didn't have an Eagle Dynamics representative with us today. They couldn't be with us, but we really appreciate that generosity in making that possible. So on that note, guys, I see the stream is winding down and all the aircraft are recovered. If you guys enjoyed the show today, first of all, you can just follow this Twitch channel. All this Twitch channel does is these competitive DCS events. So if the Twitch is coming up, you'll know something like that is going on, or I'm testing the broadcast. And we sure appreciate you guys watching. This is an event to build a better community and have a good time while we're doing it around this Grudge Match series and competitive PvP, and it wouldn't be possible without you guys. So thanks a lot for joining in, guys, and watching. Watch the forums for the official scoring and the winner of the betting contest. And that's it for round 4. We'll hope to see you guys at round 5. Thanks so much.